Hey, welcome to the Daily Podcast. Today we're going to be discussing a very interesting topic. We're going to be discussing this article I found about the end of gender. I found it on npr.org, and I like this article because it discusses both perspectives, both people that want to end gender roles and want a more gender neutral society, and people who think gender roles are beneficial to our lifestyle and our society needs them and they're a necessity. So I'm only going to discuss the groups that want to end gender roles in this podcast because I don't have time to discuss the other perspective. So let's start off with defining gender. According to Merriam-Webster, it's the behavioral, cultural, or psychological traits typically associated with one sex. In other words, the cultural expectations that go along with saying someone is a boy or a girl. In other words, not someone's sex, the person's gender. So, that definition is kind of separating sex from gender, saying they're two different things, saying sex is more of a biological thing, and gender is more of a social thing. It's what society labels a person, whether they are male or female. And first example of a gender neutral thing is this couple, Kathy Witterick and her husband, David Stalker, are raising their 4-month-old child, Storm, without revealing the child's gender. According to the birth announcement from the Toronto couple, we've decided not to share Storm's sex for now, attribute to freedom and choice in place of limitation. A stand up to what the world could become in Storm's lifetime. So, kind of going against the definition because it's not like they're hiding the gender, they're hiding the sex overall. They're not disclosing whether the child is male or female, and that kind of I don't know, that kind of is weird to me because they're not doing things like letting the child choose what toys they want or who to play with, or they're not let's say if a child was a boy, gender roles that society give them would kind of say, here, play with these toys that have violence and guns in them, and play with these other boys, and don't go close to girls. And it's the same for girls. They'd be like, hey, play with these Barbies or such, and these kind of softer vibes or such that girls are in our society are associated with. But instead of doing that, they're not disclosing the child's sex at all, like completely ignoring it, kind of. And that's not gender neutral. That's not ruining. That's not kind of getting rid of gender roles. That's just getting rid of sex overall. Here's a statement by Lisa Elliott. She says, sex differences are real and some are probably present at birth, but then social factors magnify them. That is true. There are biological differences, and that's male and female. And then there are social factors that magnify them, such as being a boy or being a girl, and having to oblige with certain things to be a boy or to be a girl in our society today. So if we as a society feel that gender divisions do more harm than good, it would be valuable to break them down, according to Lisa Elliott. Well, I don't think as a society we are ready to get rid of gender roles overall. I don't think the majority of people are ready for such thing. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. Gender divisions are going to be here for a long time, and I can't even imagine a world where it's going to be completely gender neutral. It's kind of that not many people believe it does more harm than good. Maybe people who are directly affected by it, such as transgender people, would appreciate a world where nobody labels them as what they what their sex is or what their gender that society gave them is, but instead what they chose their gender to be and what they chose to define themselves as. Uh, the article says, and so what does gender matter in a country with ideal of treating everyone fairly and equally? Do we need to know if someone is a boy or a girl? These questions are driving decisions and actions around the country. It is true that being a boy and being a girl is a big factor of people's lives, and it kind of helps people decide on many things that surround them. Here's another example of gender neutral movement. Around the beginning of this year, the State Department began using gender neutral language on US passports, replacing father and mother with parent 1 and parent 2 to make it simpler for non-traditional parents beyond the male-female combination to get passports for their children. This is a very, very good move because it's becoming very common for gay couples to be uh, to kind of be in our society, and we need to accept that's a thing now. And parent 1 and parent 2, even though it sounds weird right now, it's parent 1, parent 2, it's kind of object like name, but it's still kind of helping people that aren't the traditional couple, male and female, fit in and feel better. It's inviting them to feel better about their sexuality, which is a good thing about this isn't really, a direct example of gender roles, more so. It's just better way of accepting people around us, and it's not really saying that gay people have some sort of social thing associated with them, but no, it's just an accept a move towards acceptance, something like that. uh this is mostly what the article covered, talking about ending gender roles. Sorry. The rest starts talking about people who think that gender roles are beneficial for our society. So I'm going to end the podcast here. There's no need to go on about the article, and I'm gonna start answering a couple of questions now after we've discussed the article. Uh, the message in this text, it's obviously kind of talking about both sides. It's not really sending a message, more just informing people about gender roles and how they might end soon, and people who argue that no, they're not. Next uh, thing is the intended audience for this article, and who should take a look at it and for what purpose, and who could learn from it. I feel like this is useful for people who are directly affected by gender roles, such as transgender people and people who do not wish to accept the gender that society gave them. This kind of helps them get the perspective of the other side, and because this again discusses both perspectives, so it's a very, very good article to read. uh, and it's also good for people who are for gender roles to see the perspective of people who actually want to end gender roles. So it's good for both sides. Each person will benefit from reading it, and each person will learn from reading this article. And I feel like the writers did a good job with delivering a message. And this article, they were clear. They they got information from many different sources, kind of an overall good article. That is the end of today's podcast. Hope you enjoyed what you heard, and I'll see you tomorrow.